seriously wrong right away.
Grabs his left foot. Yeah, you hate to see that, Joe. This guy is such a great competitor.
But the Falcons' medical staff acted like he was all good. So for the rest of the 2019 season, they had Ridley popping painkillers like candy just to keep him on the field. And Ridley hated it. The guy was so messed up, he didn't even have the energy to play with his daughter when he got home. So by the time new coaching staff took over, they figured out what Riley already knew. He had been playing on a broken foot the entire season. So before the 2020 season, Ridley was rushed to get surgery and still tried to make it back for week 1. However, now Calvin was in a dark place. I mean, he couldn't stay healthy, was hooked on painkillers, and things only got worse. See, after a game, Ridley came home to find his place ransacked as part of a string of athletes and celebrities were robbed by Atlanta's drug-rich gang. And luckily, they didn't take anything he couldn't replace, but it really messed with his head. So by the time the Falcons had a game in London, Ridley finally broke down and asked for the help he needed. He even stepped away for the rest of the season, locking himself away from everything, including football. But one day, like the rest of us, Ridley saw an ad for a sports gambling app and wanted in on what everyone was talking about. So he started throwing down some parlays, and then came the Falcons spread. Harmless, right? Well, wrong, because that bet costed him everything. See, Roger Goodell suspended Ridley for the entirety of the 2022 season. Ridley was pissed, taking it to Twitter to defend himself, saying he wasn't even watching the games and only bet $1,500. But that didn't change the fact that his $11 million salary went up in smoke. But honestly, this next player probably deserved it more. See, Aldon Smith was on his way to becoming one of the top defensive players in the NFL. He even racked up 19.5 sacks in one season. But just as quickly as he rose, his career crashed and racked up more off-the-field drama than the sacks he was getting. First, Smith got in trouble in 2012 after drinking and hitting the road. But that was just the beginning, because he was pulled over and found with weapons and marijuana in his car, clearly showing he was spiraling down the wrong path. But the NFL didn't really take notice until Aldon completely lost it, because he went to the airport and joked about having a bomb. A huge mistake that got him suspended for 9 games. And right after that, kicked out of the league for an entire year for smoking weed again. You'd think with a rap sheet that could have landed him in jail, he'd try to clean up his act. But nope. Instead, Smith took things to a new level of ridiculousness when he went on a live stream app and flexed his paraphernalia for some cool points.
Nigga, do you see my face?
No, but what is it?
They don't have my name. Nigga, they don't know it's me. It's not like I put Aldon Smith.
Dude was so out of control that he had Stephen A. Smith talking crazy.
I think he should be banned from the NFL. I think the crime should be stupidity. You know, there should be a category of flagrant stupidity added. The NFL should get with the NFLPA, and they should put a category in the collective bargaining agreement, you know, that Roger Goodell should oversee.
Call it the
and
Aldon Smith rule.
Flagrantly stupidity. Aldon Smith rule, the Aldon Smith rule. Flagrant stupidity.
Aldon Smith had all the talent in the world. Bad decisions and few too many joints had him cut by the Seahawks before he made it to game 1. That was disgraceful. But Vontae Davis really left his team hanging. See, Vontae Davis was the star corner for the Buffalo Bills, so his team was depending on him to make big plays all season. And Vontae was doing just that, because he made a huge play against the Chargers and had the crowd pumped.
And Gordon slips down shy of the first down. Vontae Davis.
But right after that, Davis knew it was all over, because shortly after the big play, he walked away off the field and retired on the spot.
Never seen it ever. Their high school, college, pros, never heard of it, never seen it. And it's just completely disrespectful to his teammates.
This had never been done in NFL history, so some of his teammates wouldn't let the man retire in peace because they were pissed.
He had just made like a big stop on 3rd down. He had put his fist up, got the crowd pump and everything. So we got to the sideline. I mean, offense going. So we about to punt. Coach was like, y'all get ready. He was like, yeah, I'm done, young boy. I was like, hold on. He was like, yeah, this my last go round. So I looked at him. I was like, what you mean? Like, this gonna be your last year? He was like, nah, this gonna be my last game. I'm done, man.
Vontae later sent a heartfelt letter to his teammates, explaining why he suddenly walked away, but the damage was done. And Davis went out on his own terms, making one of the wildest exits in NFL history. But I doubt he had a retirement party like this next one. See, Adam Pac-Man Jones was racking up cash and shutting down wide receivers as one of the most talented corners in the NFL. But he decided to throw it all away for one night at the club.
My second year, I was second team All-Pro. I was just about to sign a $60 million extension And then that's when I got in trouble in Vegas.
It was the 2007 NBA All-Star Weekend in Las Vegas. Prime time for Pac-Man to live it up with all the stars. So he and his boys hit up the Minx Gentlemen's Club, ready to spend some serious cash and bask in the spotlight. And Pac-Man wanted everyone to know who the big baller was in the room. So he pulled out $80K and made it rain.
And it wasn't long before Jones showered dancers with that money. First from offstage, later on stage.
That's a lot of dollar bills flying through the air. And as you can imagine, the dancers were hyped. But here's the catch. Pac-Man didn't want anyone touching his money. And when one of the dancers tried to pick it up, Pac-Man got physical. Next thing you know, the club turned into an all-out brawl. Pac-Man sprinted out of the club. The chaos didn't stop there, because in the parking lot, gunshots were fired. Now, Pac-Man didn't pull the trigger, but because of his violence, a security guard was hit, and the bullet paralyzed him from the waist down. And so Pac-Man's life spiraled, because he was hit with an $11 million lawsuit for emotional damage done to the security guard's family. And when the NFL commissioner, Roger Goodell, stepped in, he laid down the hammer with a year-long suspension without any pay. But that was nothing compared to Henry Ruggs, because he was only a rookie when his NFL career came to a crashing halt, literally. See, Ruggs was the leading receiver for the Las Vegas Raiders in their first season in their new city. And by week 8, he had some touchdowns under his belt and was looking like the future of the franchise. But after a night out with his girlfriend, things took a tragic turn, because Ruggs left the bar and drove his Corvette recklessly down a regular street, topping out at 156 miles per hour. Before he knew it, Ruggs lost control and slammed into another car, instantly killing 23-year-old Tina Tintor and her dog.
I see you run right here. I see you run right here, buddy. That's the right here. Relax, come down.
The street turned into a fiery scene straight out of a nightmare, and Ruggs, he sat on the side of the road waiting for the cops to arrive. And when they did, Ruggs refused to blow into a breathalyzer, but once he complied, he blew a 0.16% BAC, and so his fate was sealed. Ruggs was then sentenced to 3 years in prison, and now he's working at the state governor's house earning $2 an hour, counting down the days until he's released. But he didn't do it on purpose like Ray Rice. See, Rice was once a star running back for the Baltimore Ravens, known for his game-changing plays, 2010 Super Bowl ring, and a secure spot as one of the NFL's elite. But when he was spotted with his wife in Atlantic City, it all ended instantly. Rice was seen in an elevator, dragging his wife's unconscious body. Now this raised some eyebrows, but it looked like Ray could still get ready for the next season. However, the public didn't know the full story, but when the second video was released, everything became horrifyingly clear.
The night her fiancé, now husband, hit her in the elevator of an Atlantic City hotel and casino.
The footage went viral. The NFL, which had initially suspended Rice for just 2 games, was forced to take a more decisive action. The public outrage soared, and the Ravens quickly cut ties, and the NFL followed up by suspending him indefinitely. Rice, once a beloved figure, became the face of one of the league's biggest scandals. But Josh Gordon had too many chances to act right. See, Josh was looked at as the future of the NFL, but gave up high-flying catches to get high on some ganja. But even from the beginning, bro had substance abuse problems. In 2013, Gordon tested positive for sipping lean, which he claimed a doctor gave him, but his light 2-game suspension from the league didn't stop him from leading the entire NFL in reception yards. Dude was only in his second year and balling out with his alien-like athletic ability, so all he needed to do was show up and collect a max contract. The weed kept whispering his name. By the time he came for training camp in 2014, dude tested positive for marijuana in his system, and the NFL wasn't having it, and suspended Gordon for 10 games of the next season. This dude even had Stephen A. Smith calling him out.
I want a big, fat picture of Josh Gordon, next to it $5 million, and then I want the screen wiped away black. Weed. That's how much it cost you.
And when Josh came back, he wasn't the same guy who wrecked the league the year before. So during the offseason, Josh knew he couldn't make the same stupid mistake again. But instead of weed, he didn't think some liquor would hurt. However, bro forgot he couldn't drink either, as part of his conditions to get back into the NFL. Then came right back and failed another drug test.
The reports out tonight are true. The suspended Browns receiver failed another drug test, and it was for marijuana again.
By this time, he knew he needed help, so he checked into a rehab in 2016 and sat out the season himself. Now you would think that Gordon finally got himself in a clear head to play some football, but when he had a shot with the Patriots, he was caught smoking the devil's lettuce yet again. And with all that baggage, Gordon went to the Seahawks and decided to light one more that ended him for good. And he was by far the worst example for his teammate, Johnny Manziel, because Johnny went from a Heisman sensation to a crash-out druggie. See, Johnny Manziel took the entire country by storm after beating Alabama in 2013 and turning him into a superstar when he was only a freshman. I mean, the dude was just a 5'9" QB and made players look silly like they were in his circus. He was literally the face of football, even though he was just in college, which is where his alter ego Johnny Football was born. And Johnny Football used that rock star status on the field and transformed it to the most epic college parties in the nation. Dude had a schedule of going hard on the field, then going to Ragers right after.
I felt like the harder I partied, the better that I played.
How?
My freshman year. Tuesdays were beer with the baseball boys at the house playing games, and Thursdays were hitting Northgate, going to the town. Drunk as you could get with all the dogs. Friday was the walkthrough. I go to the walkthrough at 10 a.m. in the morning, dying.
Smelling like a liquor store.
Like a liquor store.
This entire schedule was used to keep him in the zone. So Manziel kept this up for the next season. By the time draft day came around, dude took the parties to the next level. He started spending the nightlife with Drake. Bro even made a song about Johnny getting drafted.
I'm more excited to go to Avenue in New York and party with Drake and the boys after to celebrate than I am really thinking about football at this time. Everything to me was like getting drafted in the first and going to this party afterwards, and like it's the cherry on top of the whole thing. Was what it was for me.
Johnny was so exciting to watch. Even LeBron James gave him a contract. It was everything a young athlete could dream of. Despite all the weed and alcohol, there never really was a problem with Johnny until he crashed out. See, once he started practice with the Browns, the coaching staff didn't like Johnny's cocky attitude and decided to keep him humble. Johnny Football rode the bench all season, which had him at the lowest point of his career. So all season, right after practice, Johnny drank so much, he had to go to rehab in the offseason. Johnny did bounce back the next season and even won the starting job. He was back on the right track till his hating-ass defensive coordinator got way too disrespectful.
When this happened, I go straight home. I go straight to my basement. I get the biggest bottle of Hennessy out of the bottom of the drawer, and now I'm sitting in the basement. I'm listening to Future every second, every day. I'm partying by myself just to try and like get out of this reality of a situation that I'm living in, with a head coach that wants nothing to do with me, with a DC who's saying if I get my head out of my ass, we'll have a chance. Just this whole perfect storm of just like this.
And hearing that sent Johnny right back to that dark hole. Yeah, from there it was all over for Johnny, because he was nowhere to be found the day the Browns played in Week 14. So Cleveland had enough of him and got rid of Johnny. And the next thing you know, he was partying in the Hollywood Hills, lost a ton of weight. He was beginning to look like a crack addict. And now the only thing Johnny lives with is regret, wishes he could take back those times with Drake and Braun. But at least he wasn't stealing money from poor people, because Brett Favre went from an NFL legend to a low-down and dirty thief. Yeah, Brett Favre retired as the NFL's all-time leader in passing yards and earned over $140 million in the league. But all of that money didn't stop him from robbing the people who needed the money the most. See, Brett Favre went to Southern Mississippi University back in the day, and his daughter was keeping the tradition alive by getting on the volleyball team at SMU. So Favre wanted to make sure his daughter's team was set with everything they needed to make some noise that season, and a new volleyball facility would do the trick. But a whole new gym cost a pretty penny, so Favre called in some big bosses to put some money on the table and asked the governor of Mississippi for some cash to be Father of the Year, because Governor Bryant was a Southern Mississippi alumni too. And Favre knew this money wasn't coming from just anywhere, because he started talking to the leader of the Mississippi Community Education Center. So he was sending messages to Nancy New to make sure the media wouldn't find a word about it at all. And it seemed like the coast was clear, because Governor Bryant was on board and sent him $1.1 million to get a new stadium rocking. But to get the stadium done, Favre had to get the governor under pressure. To the outside world, Favre was looking like a hero. But in 2022, the feds came and busted the case open, because they found all the details of what would be the largest corruption case in Mississippi history. See, they had found that the $91 million that the state was given for welfare funds was completely spent in the worst ways possible. And Brett Favre was one of the 41 defendants who claimed the money was for some TV and radio appearances. But anyways, this dude is still defending his ass off, trying to keep his name clean. However, he could never get his hands dirty like an underground drug lord. See, Sam Hurd was a hardworking Christian football player by day, but by night was pushing some serious weight. He had the entire Chicago Bears staff full, because just from a short time there, the Bears loved the guy. The dude seemed like the picture-perfect man of God.
Friends call him God-fearing, a family man. So is it possible he was leading a double life, which could send him to prison for 40 years? And why would someone earning millions of dollars risk everything.
But the picture-perfect football player was really a fraud. And look, Hurd just signed a $5 million deal with the Chicago Bears in the offseason. So it makes you wonder, why would a man making millions risk it all for some street cred? But he was going to make a deal that made $5 million look like Monopoly money. See, he could make $700K a week pushing some weight. I'll let you do the math on that. So one day after practice, Hurd set up a meeting with his Dallas drug connection at Morton's Steakhouse in Chicago.
He was trying to broker a deal over dinner to buy and distribute 1,000 pounds of marijuana and up to 10 kilos of cocaine a week. Hurd didn't realize he was dealing with undercover federal agents.
That would be the last good meal Hurd would enjoy for a long time. Because when he faced the judge, they put him away for 15 years. But the next one took it to another level, because he wanted to end a pregnant woman's life. Look, Ray Caruth had it all. NFL fame, millions of dollars, and a bright future as a wide receiver for the Carolina Panthers. But Ray wasn't just an athlete trying to catch passes. He was about to catch a murder charge, because Jerica Adams was 8 months pregnant with her son. But Caruth wasn't ready for the responsibility. So instead of handling things like a man, he chose the unimaginable. He hired a hitman.
My name is Van Brett Pierre Watkins Sr. I'm in North Carolina Department of Corrections for the murder of Sharika Adams. I plotted it out, and I did it quickly. And it was my toughest hit ever.
Caruth orchestrated a hit on Jerica. See, one night as she was driving home after a date with him, a car pulled up beside her and shots rang out. Jerica, fighting for her life, managed to call 911 and named Ray Caruth as the mastermind behind the attack.
What just happened? I was following my baby's daddy, Ray Caruth, the football player.
Where's he
He was in the car in front of me and he slowed down and somebody pulled up beside me and did this.
And then where'd he go?
He threw a rap. I think he did it. I don't know what to think of.
Sadly, she didn't survive the shooting, but their son Chancellor was born through an emergency C-section, and miraculously he lived. Ray Caruth fled, hoping to escape justice, but there was no running away from the law. He was found hiding in the trunk of a car and was sentenced to 18 to 24 years in prison for conspiracy to commit murder. After serving his time, he was released in 2018, but his legacy is one of the darkest in NFL history. But imagine losing it all for standing up for what's right. See, Colin Kaepernick sacrificed being a superstar quarterback for activism. Once upon a time, Kaepernick was changing the league and led the 49ers to the Super Bowl in 2013. But once he saw the injustice of his people's treatment by the police in America, he was furious. I mean, every other day, another African American was assaulted right in front of his face on TV. So by the time the next season rolled around and the routine national anthem played to honor the country, Colin showed how he was really feeling and took a seat.
You know, this country stands for freedom, liberty, justice for all. And it's not happening for all right now. I'll continue to sit. I'm going to continue to stand with the people that are being oppressed. To me, this is something that has to change. And when there's significant change, and I feel like that flag represents what it's supposed to represent, and this country is representing people the way that it's supposed to, I'll stand.
Once the country saw what he was doing, most NFL fans were pissed. But there was one person who was way more pissed than the average fan, Nate Boyer, a former long snapper for the Seahawks and an Afghanistan war veteran. And he decided to let Kaepernick know that he should be more grateful because he never saw the tournaments of fighting for the country. However, Kaepernick was inspired by Boyer's story, so he wanted to meet in person to discuss their differences before his game against the Chargers. Cap was still planning to sit down during the anthem that night, so then they came to another agreement that honored both the country and the lives taken from police brutality.
People were perceiving him sitting on the bench, isolated from his team, as disrespecting those that fought for this country and that flag. And he was very open to listening. We started to have a discussion about what he would do. He was planning on sitting that night, and I said, is there any other way you could take a stand without sitting for the anthem? We came to a middle ground where I agreed to stand next to him if he took a knee.
After this great idea, players from all over the league were able to stand up for what they believed in. But some people didn't like it at all, and it caused a serious conversation about social issues being discussed for the first time in some people's lives. And honestly, that was all Kaepernick was asking for, but it all came with a price. Because after the 2016 season, he was a free agent, and nobody wanted to handle the controversy that came with one of the biggest voices in the country. So Kaepernick never played again. He knew it was all because he made everyone focus on something more important than the game. But this next one wasn't so peaceful. See, Michael Vick was uncontainable in the pocket until he found himself contained in a jail cell. Just imagine being the NFL's fastest quarterback, the face of the league, and a human highlight reel. This dude had crazy commercials, was adored by fans, and in 2007, signed the biggest deal in NFL history at $130 million and a $37 million signing bonus. Dude was living lavishly, but despite the new riches, Mike couldn't forget where he came from. See, Vic hailed from Newport News, Virginia, aka Bad News, Virginia. And in his old neighborhood, dogfighting was just part of the culture. And he never heard of anyone getting locked up for it, so it seemed normal. So while he was away from the team, Vic used his downtime to buy some dogs. And at first, it was all innocent.
Bad News Kennels was started us wanting to breed pit bulls with the patches and the ones that, look pretty, and it was show dogs, and we was gonna sell them.
But Mike's stubborn streak got the best of him, and before long, he had over 60 dogs chained up to one property. And Vic was craving a taste of home, so he started hosting underground dog fights, with bets flying left and right. However, he kept balling out with the Falcons, and when he wasn't on the field, he was indulging in this violent side hustle. Eventually, he knew this lifestyle was unsustainable, so he tried to lay low and make smarter investments. But it was too late, because the cops caught wind of the dogfighting ring and raided his property. And what they found was horrific, because they saw over 6 dead dogs, with evidence showing they were drowned, hanged, and electrocuted. Vic knew it was over. He had to repay every penny left on his Falcons contract, and the court sentenced him to 2 years in prison, and his bank account drained. Though Vic came back to the league, even having an MVP-worthy season with the Eagles, he truly lost what could have been an even bigger legacy. However, he wasn't as much of a disappointment like Jamarcus Russell. See, Jamarcus became the poster child for NFL busts, but his downfall started long before he won a national title at LSU, and got snatched up as the #1 draft pick by the Oakland Raiders in 2007, landing a whopping $31.5 million rookie contract. But with a lean habit he picked up at just 14 years old, it was game over before it even started. Picture this: a hot day in Mobile, Alabama. Jamarcus and the neighborhood kids are playing outside when some older guys show up sipping on some Faygo soda. But it wasn't the regular kind, because they had some syrup mixed in, and young Jamarcus was thirsty from the heat, so he just grabs what he thought was a soda. But after one sip, he suddenly was feeling a little woozy. But that euphoric feeling was something he never forgot. So fast forward to him as an LSU star quarterback when he was dealing with shoulder pain. Instead of pills from the staff, he remembers that special potion from back home. So one day, Jamarcus rolled into class with a double cup, casually mixing lean in front of everyone. However, LSU swept it under the rug, and when he finally got drafted, it was a dream come true. Except, he spent most of the season riding the bench. But in 2008, he got his shot. But the Raiders were, well, awful at 4-12, and the media blamed Jamarcus for it all. But worse than the losses was something that was eating away at him: the loss of his uncle and cousin passing just 2 years apart. So all offseason, Jamarcus skipped every workout and turned to lean to cope. So when he finally showed up for training camp, he tipped the scales at a staggering 305 pounds. Yeah, this quarterback was the size of a lineman. However, the Raiders just figured he was another lazy, entitled athlete, and never bothered to ask about his struggles. And by 2009, things went from bad to worse, because Jamarcus was cut for good. And back home, things spiraled out of control. See, while hanging out with his boys in Alabama, the police kicked in the door and found the illegal substance in his hands.
Losing your job is bad enough, but today Russell made it even worse for himself. He was arrested and charged with possession of a controlled substance, the drug codeine syrup.
Jamarcus ended up being sentenced to 3 years of probation, and not a single team came calling sense. His dream of the NFL evaporated faster than a cup of lean on a hot day. Jamarcus should have shown the game more respect. But hey, he's not the only one. Just imagine needing spies to just scrape together a win. Or touchdown celebrations so savage, they literally started brawls on the field. If you're into that kind of chaos, just click the video on screen for even more wild NFL moments. You won't believe what some of these guys pulled.